This is not a test. Don't expect to be impressed. Put on your life vest. Sit down your armrest. It's time to stray from the grind. Don't take my hand, 'cause you'll find no peace of mind. Side quest.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Side Quest, the every other week Authors and Dragons non-game in which we get together and either talk to somebody cool or pick a random topic and beat it into the ground until it's begging for mercy.
More of that latter than the first one because cool people don't really
Yeah.
talk to us.
No. There's some cool people on with me tonight, but not that cool to can be considered that. So my name is Rick Qualtieri, and joining me tonight are John G. Hartness and MK Gibson.
A lot of
Hey
initials.
everybody, how y'all doing?
What up, bitches? A lot of initials
And
tonight. A lot of initials.
I only took it because MikeGibson.com was taken, so I had to have something else.
You know, that makes sense. That's a very 21st century reason for picking a name.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool, I think, to have that, I guess, that author name that doesn't say necessarily male or female. I think it's not really necessarily a bad idea. It's just
I
kind of like,
mean,
okay, don't worry about what I look like, just read my fucking stories.
I thought you were
Definitely
going to
don't
say
want to see what I look like.
I thought you were just going to say that it was cool to have an author name people could pronounce, but you know.
Obviously, I don't think that's cool since I've been living for how many years with this one?
More than we want to count.
I swear, if they invent a time machine, I'm going back and I'm like, no, your author name is Rick Fury. That's what you're doing.
Okay, but a cat's going to claw your fucking eye out.
Rick, did you ever get a chance to go back and watch some of the games that were done at the at A&D Con this past August? Because the one I ran, I gave everybody characters, and they were all pre-made characters, but they were all based off of you guys. So there was Joan Hardass, the cleric, which was John, obviously. There was Dew Hayes, the halfling mushroom cleric. But there was Walt Erie, the Oathbreaker paladin, that was played by I want to say Steve did it. Steve played your character, and he was just a dick to everybody. So you set the standard on how to be a
shitty paladin. How to Suck at Paladining by Rick Gwalbatiburby.
That is probably the only thing that I liked from fourth edition was that line that basically said paladins must be lawful good, but lawful good is technically whatever you think is lawful good, and that right there kind of set the stage for for Silas to exist.
I'm gonna find the motherfucker who wrote that line. Punch him right in the dick.
Well,
In the dick.
in the
Right in the
meantime, we
throat.
often like to start these off with a bonus action. Well, not often, sometimes when we remember. And this is where we just pick a topic and and talk about it for maybe 10 or 15 minutes before getting to our main topic. But oddly enough, the two are kind of related. So I figured our bonus action, we're going to talk about card games that we enjoy. And just before we get started, we already did a full fucking episode, John, on Magic. So, or you did a whole fucking
I
episode
don't
on
know what you're
Magic.
talking about. But there is a new competitor. There is a new hot card game in the collectible card battler market. And the reason that this is a viable competitor to a monolith like Magic and Wizards of the Coast is because of the intellectual property that it's built around. I mean, look, Pokemon was fun. I don't know whether the cartoon came before the game or the game came before the cartoon, but it was all kind of twisted together or whatever. Lorcana is the new hotness in collectible card games, and this new little startup based out of Florida owns the IP that it's based on. It's fucking Disney. And that means that all the people who are doing all of the things that are oh, well, this is kind of like Ilsa from Frozen, but we can't use that. Nope. You can just play Ilsa. You can play Captain Hook. You can play Mickey Mouse. You can play Maleficent. You can play Simba, Scar, all of the Disney. Currently, it's just limited to the Disney branded animated IP.
My Goofy fucks your Minnie Mouse.
Yeah, I played in the release event and I did play a deck with a Goofy and a Minnie Mouse and a Mickey Mouse. And it had the Sorcerer's Apprentice theme going on. So Mickey summoned brooms and beat people with brooms. Um, the game's I haven't seen anything this hot since we were waiting to see if anybody was going to find the One Ring in the Magic the Gathering Lord of the Rings set. By the way, $2.5 million he sold that thing for.
Holy shit.
I assume there was one ring.
Yeah, you there's you can get the card, and there's hundreds of thousands of copies of the card, but there's a serialized version,
Of
one of
course.
one. Post Malone bought it for $2.6 million. The cool thing about that, there's really nothing cool about a rock star spending way too much money on a collectible, except that he bought it from a Canadian forklift driver who bought one pack of Magic cards and changed his life.
Like,
Which
I don't
is,
even like this stupid game.
yeah, and it's like, that's the story you want, you know.
Yeah, it is.
That's
Yeah, it
pretty
is.
awesome. But no, this Lorcana game, it's flying off the shelves. Nobody can get it. Prices are really inflated, but the game's good. It's gonna have legs because not only is it Disney, but the mechanics are good. And it's enjoyable. It's playable by everybody from little kids, 8 or up, to old farts like me. I mean, I played in the release event at my local game shop, and there were elementary school kids and AARP card carriers like me hanging out playing the
Please,
game.
please tell me you sent some little kids home crying.
No, I
They
did
sent you
not.
home crying.
No, I just didn't give a shit.
Ah,
That's the thing, is I didn't care if I won or not. There was no money on the line, and you got the same number of prize packs just for hanging out, so I didn't care. But the game is fun, it's quick, the mechanics are fairly similar to Magic, but one of the things I really like about it, especially as a game for young players and a family-friendly style card game, you're not trying to kill your opponent. The idea in Magic is you start with 20 life and you reduce your opponent's life to 0, so you murder somebody.
yeah.
With Lorcana, you're trying to build lore, and whoever builds up to 20 lore first wins.
Okay.
You attack your opponent's creatures because you build lore using your creatures. So if you murder their creatures, then you're more likely to win. But you don't attack your opponent. You're not trying to murder somebody. So from a conceptual standpoint like that, I think it's a little hippy dippy, sure.
But
But
so
if you are,
construct was it a destructive?
yeah, exactly. And if you're looking for something to build on and get little kids involved, it's an easier sell to parents than talking about, well, we're creating these monsters and war and blah. Nah, I'm summoning Timon and Pumbaa and whatever the hell that little crazy chicken was in Moana, and they're just going to run, and make a lot of lore and win. Um, but I think the game has legs. I would not be at all surprised if it grew. And I mean, Disney owns everything.
Yeah.
So you can have a Star Wars Lorcana. because they own Star Wars. You can have Marvel Lorcana because they own Marvel. I mean, the breadth of IP that Disney has control of is stunning. And Ravensburger is the company that made the game, and they're the same folks who make all of the licensed versions of Monopoly. You've seen them. Star Wars Monopoly, Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings Monopoly.
yeah.
Hell,
I
you
got I
nerds
got
probably have.
Godzilla Monopoly here.
I was about to say, one of you nerds has some random IP Monopoly. Surprised you don't have a Transformers Monopoly.
Actually, I have D&D Monopoly too.
See?
I don't let Monopoly into my house. Never again. Never again.
Now,
It's a great game to make families hate each other.
now both of you
Exactly.
guys have spawned, right?
Yes.
So I think that from my perspective as a Magic nerd, this is a great gateway game because the mechanics are similar enough, but it's all scaled younger. The vibe feels more friendly. Like you said, it's constructive instead of destructive. And I think that it is a good way to get kids into playing collectible card games once it's widely enough available that everybody can get the cards.
That might actually happen. Like my son and I've been playing a game. For those who have Spawn out there, you are aware that once they reach a certain age, they become monomaniacs. They'll find a game, an anime, or something, and they won't shut the fuck up about it in ever. And they will walk into a room,
And
and
some
then I
people
need.
never get out of that, right, Rick?
You.
And then he'll walk into a room like, and then this happened, and then this, and then this. So one of the games, my son, he's coming up on 12, but he's been getting into like kind of retro gaming. He loves that 8 and 16-bit style, like modern games that look kind of old, you know.
Yeah.
And one of these games that's out there is called The Binding of Isaac. It's a classic game from 10 years ago. And for those who do or do not, okay,
God,
what?
I
Well,
just feel
it's
so old. A classic
exactly. Well,
game
the
from 10
digital
years ago.
world 10 years ago is kind of classic.
No, I
Uh,
know.
those who
It's
are not
true.
familiar with the game, the fast version is it is a parable of like that. It blends the Bible and but not on a religious aspect because the creator grew up in a staunch religious household. So it's a story about this kid who has to go through the trials of being raised in an abusive religious household. So there are they've got demon names, Cain, Abel. They've got all these things in the game. So the people created a card game based off the video game, and it is ridiculously fun.
Okay.
The gist is like you and up to think 6 people. Your goal is to collect 4 souls, and you get a certain amount of cards. Everybody gets a card, and then every turn you like draw a item card. And there are 2 monsters in the middle of the table, and you're trying to defeat the monsters. Some monsters give you more items. Some monsters, if you kill them, will um, drop a soul. Now you're trying, it's both cooperative and screw your neighbor because sometimes if you're working as a team, you've got to be, some monsters are just hard to beat. So you need to use your abilities to help other people. But there's a tap phase, there's a collection phase, there's an item phase. And if you die, you're not out of the game. You have to give up one of this, one of this, one of this. Some of your items are permanent. So you have to be real. You get to get real combination, real tricky. It's like for those of us who played Magic back in the day, all the like, okay, I tap this, do this. This is the effect because rules as written says fuck you, or just play a blue white bitch, and they're like, nope, you just can't. So it is, but he is grasped the mechanics so quickly, and it's like he is one step away from becoming that Magic nerd. Now, I destroy him on the regular, and I don't take it easy because I want him to like this is how you play competitively. And he's actually beat me once. And I had to give him applause, out of the 10 times or whatever we've played. But like, so it's on Amazon. I think it's like 30-ish bucks. It's like Binding of Isaac, 4 souls. And if you just want to try a new, it's kind of it. If you played a little bit of Munchkin, you'll get some Munchkin vibes off of it. So Munchkin meets Magic is what it's kind of like.
Oh, okay.
And I highly recommend it. Just for something a little bit different. It comes with 1 die. That's all you're going to need is the 6-sided die to do these things, and it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it.
Very cool.
My family's really not into cards. I mean, my oldest had a brief stint with Yu-Gi-Oh years back, but my other 2 are autistic. They don't really want to play that stuff. So what we try to do is like more like like family-based games that we have to force them in. So I guess probably the closest to a card game we got was maybe like last year we got this this game called Poetry for Neanderthals, and you play it with cards. You play it with teams. It comes with an inflatable club, and the idea is you have to get you have a word or a phrase, and you have to get your partner to guess it, but you can only use one syllable words to explain it. So it's like for cup, it's like me, drink, wet. You can't say water. And if you say a word with more than one syllable, the person on the other team smacks you with with the club. So that's kind of fun because it brings in some some cartoon violence and stuff.
And child
Um,
abuse.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
too.
Familial abuse. Right.
So, but yeah.
I just have this mental image of your wife never relinquishing the club and never hitting anyone who's not you.
See that this is one area where my writer skills come into play, and the fact that a lot of my characters are kind of dumbasses or that I write. So like the whole concept of like speaking in one
Write what you
syllable
know.
words after I write a whole like chapter full of like Sasquatches being like turd smash, it's not that difficult.
Oh yeah, we've read your shit, buddy. We know that you're very well versed in one syllable words.
All right.
Too
Well,
easy.
Well, that's
yeah.
a general. That's a nice fuck you.
Well, I was going to segue into our main thing, but instead I'm just going to turn this off and like go sit in the corner and cry.
Go burn my
no.
Quincy Harker books. Like son of a bitch.
You bought them. I don't give a shit. burn them all you want, baby.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting.
Burn 5 or 6 copies.
I'm waiting for somebody to be like, "Oh, Rick, you pissed me off. So watch as I burn my books." And I'll just be like, "Wait for me to make popcorn."
Yeah, can I have a link to that? Can you post that on your social media? Because
No
I'll use
backsies.
the
I'm not giving you the
press.
cash back.
It's like
Yeah.
motherfucker. You're talking to the guy who came up with the idea of burning our Shingles books during Shingle the movie. So,
That's
but
true.
anyway, so I mentioned that our bonus action was related to our main topic, in which we're going to talk about a game that all three of us have been nerding out on, whether it's on phone
Horrifically
or
so.
PC. Yeah, but Marvel Snap.
This fucking game.
So
Yeah.
for those of you not familiar, Marvel Snap, it came out a while back. Marvel Snap came out that almost rhymed. It's a card game based off Marvel characters. It's digital, so there's really nothing to collect. There is like some pay to win stuff going on. There not a lot, and if you're doing that, I have no respect for you. But it's just a ridiculously fun game. And what makes it fun for me is that it just is really balanced.
Yeah, it is. It is at its essence a card game, a card battler. But it is very balanced and it works in seasons. There's a new season every month? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I think so.
Every month. Yep.
Yeah. And everybody can play the season and you can get the shit, or you can pay it's like $15 a month to jump ahead and get the cool skins and shit a little earlier. And I pay the $15 because I get the cool picture. I get the pretty pictures.
See, what I like most about it is that there's a lot of games out there. I mean, almost every mobile game has a pay to win feature, and usually it's horribly unbalanced. Where it's like, hey, you give us money, so we're going to give you we're pretty much going to give you every advantage and fuck these cheap bastards. And
Yeah.
Marvel Snap to a degree, yeah, you get the new cards, and some of the new cards are really good, but there's a random element to the game with both um, how your cards are shuffled, um, the playing field, it's different every time, and that random element really is the big equalizer.
For fans who
Yeah.
don't know, who are listening to us, the gist is once you got the game, you create a deck. You can create many decks, but like let's say you start a deck. This guy, I think it's 8 or 10 cards, or is it 8?
Um,
It's
12.
It's 8 or Is it okay? 12
Yeah,
cards.
12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You start with 12 cards in your deck, and you get dealt 3, and your opponent gets dealt 3. There it is.
Yeah, I've got it
And
hanging up
there
next to
are
my
3 zones in the middle of the screen. This first zone is the first one that you see. These zones have different effects and abilities. Sometimes it's +1 energy. Sometimes it's minus. Everyone here takes a penalty or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So your goal is you want to win 2 out of the 3 zones.
Yep.
And to be the winner. So you play a card in an area, kind of like almost at a Texas Hold'em kind of field, like this. It's you're beginning, you're turning your river kind of thing, and your cards have an amazing combination of effects. The way you put them together, the way you build it, because for example, Iron Man, he cost 5 energy, so every round you get another energy. So round 1, round 2, energy, so forth and so on. So by round 5, you have 5 energy. You can lay down Iron Man. He costs 5 energy, but he has 0 power.
Yeah.
However, his ongoing ability is he doubles the power of everything at that zone on your side.
Yeah.
So if you already had 15 power down, boom, now you're at 30.
Yeah.
And so you start thinking these strategically.
Yeah, so for example, some cards affect other cards. So you mentioned Iron Man, he costs 5. But there's another card there called Mr. Negative. Mr.
I was going to
Negative
say that
reverses
guy.
power and yeah, I don't like that card either. But it reverses power and cost. So Iron Man goes from costing 5 and having 0 to costing 0 and having 5, which means the moment you play him, he's a 10 power card because he doubles everything there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate Mr. Negative because I've never built a successful deck with Mr. Negative, so that's my beef. It's purely a me thing. Yeah, and there are archetypes of decks, like there's a whole collection of decks that get bonuses when they move or they move other cards and give. So if you've got a card that gets a bonus if it moves, let's say you've got Human Torch, which power doubles every time it moves.
Yeah.
Well, on turn 1, you play Iron Fist, and its ability is the next card you play gets moved. So turn 1, you play Iron Fist. Turn 2, you play Human Torch. Human Torch immediately moves, and his power goes from 2
Yeah.
to 4.
Yeah, and if you play that smart, I mean, I've had games where like Human Torch ended the game with like 32 power or higher.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen them around 64 or higher
Yeah.
because it's in my particular move deck. You get like you said, Iron Fist, boom, and then you want Cloak, move them again, and then Doctor Strange, he moves people again, and then at the end, Heimdall shifts everybody over, and then Cloak and Dagger and all these people who have move based abilities. And so when you're playing the game, you look at some cards are unique, but a lot of them have certain things, either ongoing effects, on reveal effects. You put your card down, and as soon as it flips open, it does something. There are cards that have discard abilities. You have cards that have destroy abilities. These are like the primary abilities that you can build decks around. But then there's smaller ones that have more unique traits that once you start putting certain combinations together, like one of my favorite ones to do is Magic, the X-Men character, Iron Man, not Iron Man, excuse me, Colossus's sister. Which her on reveal ability is she whatever zone you're in, she turns it to limbo. So now you have 7 rounds instead of 6. So I love to put down the Hulk on round 6, and like because my Hulk has been building up energy this entire time,
Yep.
and then on round 7 I put out Taskmaster and somewhere else. So then he copies the Hulk's power and puts him somewhere else, and now they've got 2 giants they've got to deal with.
Yeah.
But sure as shit, I always go up against someone with a Shang-Chi who anybody 9 or higher he immediately kills. And it is just exactly,
Every deck.
But that's why I put the Hulk out there as a distractor.
Yeah. But here's the thing: if you're playing Hulk with Taskmaster and the other person goes first, because you switch up, I don't think it switches up, but it's a random thing who goes first each round.
You
Which
take
again,
turns.
No,
No,
you don't take.
it's-
No, you don't take turns. It's random.
Whoever's winning. If you're winning 2 zones, you're going to go first. If you're winning 1 zone and tied in the others, you're going to go first. If your opponent's winning, they go first.
Really? You
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah.
I've never noticed.
If
I thought it was a
your
random
name will
thing.
be highlighted, whoever's name is highlighted during the beginning of the turn,
Yeah.
that's who goes first.
Yeah, but you can manipulate priority
Yeah.
by intentionally sandbagging
Hmm.
to
I'll have to try that. I really did think it was a random. But
it's
that's
based on who's ahead.
That's good to know. But anyway, back to the point. Gibby was talking about playing the Hulk and then playing Taskmaster, who copies the last card you played. So if you go first and you play a Shang-Chi, you destroy the Hulk, and then when Taskmaster activates, he has nobody to copy. So
Right.
effectively, you've just completely gimped him.
And that's
Yes.
because they nerfed Taskmaster. Because when I started playing,
Mhm.
Taskmaster would still copy a card that was destroyed.
Yes.
But they
Yes.
nerfed him,
Yeah.
so now he only copies the last card
Mhm.
if it's
If they're still
still
active.
on the battlefield.
Well, that's also a cool thing about it is like usually about twice a month they come out with balance updates where they look and they see what cards are broken versus like what are being overplayed, and they mess it they mess it around. Like
All the time.
yeah, I was playing what was it? Wasp. Wasp is a zero. It's like is a zero power card. I think she gives you 1 or 2 points, but she would take away points from 2 other cards, and eventually they realized that was too powerful, so they nerfed her. So she only took away power from one opposing card. So yeah, so sometimes doing that will completely either make a new deck for you or destroy a deck that you've built around some certain card.
Well, that was like when Spider Ham hit. He was a 2/2 card that like
Yeah.
Spider Ham for the nerds out there or no the Spider-Man lore, just watch the animated movie. When he comes onto the field on reveal, he hits his giant mallet and he hits the opponent's card. Whoever the highest powered car is, he just turns him into a pig. They still are like a 6/12 card or whatever, but they had a special text, it's all gone because they're
Yeah.
now a pig. So it removes all their special text. Sometimes it hits the Hulk and like,
Mhm.
well, he's still a 6/12 card,
Mhm.
so you're not really stopping much. But then they nerfed him to be a 1/1, and
Yeah.
he only hits the far left card, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He started as a 1/1 that hit the
Oh,
biggest
right, right,
card in
right.
Yeah.
your hand.
Yeah.
Then he shifted to a 2/2 that hit the biggest card in your hand.
Yep.
Then they tweaked him again to make him a 1/1 that hits
Yeah.
the far left card.
Okay.
That often
Mhm.
will still hit the biggest card in your hand because
Yeah.
you start with 3 cards, but they shift from right to left as you play other things. So if you're playing Spider Ham, it might still get your death. And death is an 8/12, but every time a card is destroyed, death's casting cost is reduced by 1. So frequently by the end of the game, you're playing death for 0 if you build
Yeah.
your deck around it,
Mhm.
unless you get hammed
Yeah.
and
I
then
keep a because I have a couple of major decks. My love my death deck without a doubt. It's my bread and butter deck. But I in the one I'm playing now, I always keep a super scroll in case I go up against a death deck. Because once I start seeing things being destroyed, like I know they're going to play a null. I just
yeah,
waiting for it. And so when I drop
Yeah.
super scroll out, so I'm like, my super scroll is the same amount of power as your null plus 2 points.
plus 2 points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest nerf in the game, at least as far as I can remember, was Spider-Man, not Spider-Ham.
Yes.
Because
Oh
originally
my god.
Spider-Man, he would web up.
Sucked.
Like if somebody played it, it would web up your side so you couldn't play a card there. So people would play a card that would give them extra power, like Electro. Then on the fifth, on like the fourth or fifth, or wave turn made every card 4 power. So in the fourth turn, they would play Galactus, destroy everything, and then on the fifth turn, play Spider-Man, which would just fuck you because you could literally do nothing.
Yeah.
So they changed Spider-Man and completely destroyed that by basically making Spider-Man just hop around the board and drag other cards with him, which was a complete change
It was
with it. But
completely
it was a
redesigned.
yeah, it was a I enjoyed the change because I lost way too many games to that
Yeah.
combo.
I did too. And honestly, I felt like it's a better it feels like a better flavor, and the
Yeah.
animation is cool because you play the card, it flips over,
Mhm.
and then it shoots a web up and the card swings over to
Yeah.
someplace else, and then it shoots a web onto an opponent's card and it brings it with him,
Mhm.
and it's better flavor.
Yeah, and
Um
most of the spider-based cards now move in some way or another.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
Spider Gwen,
yeah.
or Ghost Spider,
Ghost Spider. Yep.
Yep.
Ghost Spider. You play her, and the last card you played, she moves to where you played her.
Spider-Man 2999 is pretty nasty because the
Oh,
first
he's
time he
nasty.
moves, he'll destroy a card wherever he lands.
Yeah.
And I've lost some big cards with people like with people doing a movement deck and using Doctor Strange and dragging him over. Doctor Strange teleports your highest level card to wherever Doctor Strange is.
So my
Yeah.
friend who is he's the mega player of this, and he's like he frequently hits rank 100 every season, you know.
Shoo.
And I was telling Rick before the game started, like he sent me a text like once you reach level 100, you go into the national ranked system. So my buddy Adam is now like for the 48,000th player out of the 11 million of us that play. So he's good. He's really good. But now that he's got his Goliath and Galactus working in perfect synergy, he basically does everything like boom, 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 destroys every size, plays the Galactus, and then plays Goliath right after that. And so that no matter what you play against him, you lose because it just destroys your cards. And it's just oh my god, so it's frustrating. It's like I'm glad I hover around the 70s. I maybe I hit 80 once in a while.
Yeah.
But that's where my
Well-
skill set
Well,
ends.
fortunately, I think fortunately the good thing about Galactus is like, yeah, some people play him masterfully, but I think the majority of people play him stupidly to the point where you can obviously see that somebody's going to play a Galactus and just completely ruin their attempts, which
Yeah,
is
you
really
can
fun.
shit
Really
all
fun.
over Galactus by
Yeah.
having cards that move cards or having cards that give your opponent cards.
Debris is a
there-
great one.
Or Hobgoblin and Green Goblin.
Yep.
Both of the goblins really fuck your opponent because
Yep.
Green Goblin has a casting cost of 3 energy and a -3 power, and when you play it, it goes to your opponent. And then
Mhm.
Hobgoblin has 5 energy casting cost -8.
Yeah. I used to keep an Odin in my deck, and when you play Odin, it activates the powers of all the cards on your
Oh,
side.
nice.
And I used to keep
Send
an
them
Odin in
back.
my deck just as a giant fu to the Hobgoblin players.
Return to sender. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was playing a guy earlier today, and I was playing, and it was very obvious. He played armor, which makes it so that cards in that lane can't be destroyed. Then he played sentry on that same lane, and what sentry does is he's a 4, I think, 4
Yeah.
something 10.
Yeah, like 410.
410. But he brings a -10 void counterpart with him because Sentry in the comics, he's the great big Superman knockoff.
Yep.
But he has this dark side. His dark mirror image is void. So you can't play Sentry on the far right lane because it always puts void on the far right. Well, when somebody does that on turn 4, it's pretty obvious to me that they're going to want to put Viper on the far
Viper.
right lane
Yep.
because Viper gives one card at that lane, one other card on that lane to your opponent. Well, I had enough shit with low cost in my hand.
I've done that
I
many
just
times.
yep.
You stack the right side and then
I
and
just
I and they just retreat.
cockblocked them.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, and then
Yeah.
people just retreat all the time when they can't get that
Yeah,
mechanic to
that's the
work.
thing. You can retreat before the end of the game, which like limits the number of points you get. But there's a lot of people who like to snap, which doubles the points right at the beginning of the game, as kind of I guess an intimidation move. And then if they retreat, you wind up getting essentially full points if you want a full
Full
game.
points. Yep.
Yeah, because you start and you're playing for cubes, and it's the cosmic cube, the Tesseract that Loki dicks around with
Yep.
in the first Avengers movie and Thor and all that jazz. You start the game with, if you play the whole game, you'll win or lose 2 cubes.
Yeah.
You can snap and double it, so you'll win or lose 4 cubes if you go all the way to the end.
Or
If
if
you
both
snap
people,
and if your opponent snaps, it goes to 8. So you can win or lose 8 cubes by going all the way to the end. And I tend to not snap very often unless I really feel like I'm ahead. Because a lot of times if I feel like I'm winning, I don't want my opponent to run away. I don't want
Yeah.
him to
Exactly.
retreat. I'd
I
rather
don't snap.
win
I almost
2.
never snap. Now the other thing is you could also like not taunt, but there are emoticons you can click on. It's
Yes.
like hello. You can like do things like one of my favorite ones is if you and another player play the exact same card, you do the Spider-Man pointing at
Yeah.
each other thing.
Yeah.
And then
But there is someone
sometimes
they can ask you to snap, and I'm like, they keep hitting snap, snap, snap. I'm like, I'm not going to, and so they snap. It's up to 4, and I win, and then I give them the fist bump, and they just go away. So
Yeah. Usually, if somebody hits me with the same emoji like 3 times in a row, I mute them because I'm like, okay. Because for a while, somebody figured like normally those emojis come up pretty slow, but somebody figured out like how to spam them. So like I lost one or two to somebody who must have been 12, and suddenly it's like one of the more annoying ones you can get is Miss Marvel comes up and gives you a cute little like thumbs up,
yeah,
which basically is equivalent to an fu. Um, yeah, and like it was like 15 of those in a row, and it was just like okay, I'm muting you in case I ever run into your annoying ass again.
Oh, I didn't realize
The-
mute stuck from game to game. That's great.
I don't know if it does or not. Like I very
I
seldom
never
remember
pay
I
people's
attention.
names.
because
Yeah,
before Marvel
same.
Snap, pardon me, before Marvel Snap, I was a big Clash Royale player on my phone. Played a lot of Clash Royale, and because it was again card based, do the thing, do da 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 da. And it was my toilet time. It was my wasting time. I like, but I got to a point where like I had nothing else to get in the game. I was bored. It was just repetitive, and I just wasn't enjoying it. So when I got Marvel Snap, I'm like, well, I'm deleting this. Goodbye, clan of my friends. Like I'm done. I'm walking because Marvel Snap just fills that hole in my heart that
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a lot of Injustice 2 Gods Among Us on my iPad. That was my
right.
play it for 15, 20 minutes sitting in
Yep.
bed before I'm ready to go to sleep. And now I play Snap. And there's the way you set up the way you can customize is you get little icons, and this represents who you are, and you get little banners and titles underneath. One of the banners even says, I am on the toilet.
Yeah.
That was mine for the
It's
longest
in the
time. Yeah.
game.
Hmm.
And I'm just
Yep.
like, all right, that's kind of great.
It was either that or why, yes, this is a loincloth. Or my mom said this is my last game, something to that effect.
I don't
I
remember what
love
I'm
this
rocking
game
right now.
so much. And I love that every month that they have a new theme, and they like
Yeah.
because like last month was the Japan theme, so they brought out like the Silver Samurai and Daken and a lot of these characters from like the Japanese parts of Marvel Comics, and this
Mhm.
month it's the
And
uh,
X-23.
what's it called? Yeah, X-23.
Yeah.
It's
Loki.
Loki. It's the
Oh,
Loki season
Loki.
televisions.
Yeah.
And he just made the collector card. That's why they had to nerf him this season because they already made it by putting Loki in the game. You just made the collector card that much more powerful.
Ah, okay. That's why I keep seeing
Yeah.
so much goddamn collector lately.
Yeah. Loki is a tough one.
I run into practically no Loki. It's really weird.
Well, because they nerf collector because collector was a
Ah,
two
okay.
two. Now he's a 2-0. So two costs for nothing. Then you have to play all these cards that are like bring a card into the deck from outside your deck and to buff them up, buff them up, buff them up. And Loki will do an entire opening hand.
Yeah.
So it makes the collector great, but they nerfed him because it's like, oh well, we need to bring his power down just a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing that they do that I really like is they have a lot of thematic cards that work together. A lot of the teams work
Mm-hmm.
well together. Like all of the Guardians of the Galaxy
All
have a
the Guardians are
similar
great together.
mechanic.
Yeah.
They're not really fantastic separately, but they each have almost an identical
Yeah.
mechanic, so they pile on and they're cumulative. And like Zabu and Kazar work well together,
And
and
Shanna, yeah.
Shanna, yeah.
Yeah. But like
And a
other
lot of
others.
these a lot of them just kind of mesh. Although like Cap and Bucky don't work well together.
They
No.
don't. Cap,
And
Bucky,
Fantastic
and
Four do
Carnage work
not.
great.
Yeah, no, the Fantastic Four are completely kind of unrelated. Yeah, I never
Yeah.
play Cap anymore. I play Bucky. My main deck right now is a destroy deck, and I play the piss out of Bucky. One of my favorite things is either X-23 or Deadpool on turn 1, Bucky on turn 2, and then Deathlock
Got
on 3. Deathlock destroys everything else. Well, Bucky, when you destroy him, he turns into the Winter Soldier. And then
Mhm.
Deadpool, when you destroy him, he comes back. Same with X-23, she comes back.
Soon as I see the Bucky or the dead or any of those cards you just mentioned, armor. I just drop armor
Yeah.
on that lane.
There is
Just
nothing more satisfying than somebody putting like Wolverine, Bucky, and then you drop an armor on them as they fill up the thing, and it's just like you can see their soul crumble.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to, if you're playing the destroy deck, you can't put all your eggs in one basket because armor will
Yeah.
just screw
not at
you.
a certain level.
Yeah.
Like if you're like around the 20s and 30s, you can. Once you get into
Yeah.
the 50s and 60s, you're starting to get people that like because every season everybody goes back down to a they dump you
Yeah.
down to a certain amount. You have to wait for that
You drop
accordion effect.
30 you
Yeah.
drop
And
30 ranks.
and over the course of a week or two, that accordion effect, everybody's kind of in one bucket. The bucket
Yeah.
gets bigger and bigger. So
Yeah.
the better players immediately start jumping to the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Whereas the people who are just like, just not as good, they hover around the 20s and 30s. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been making it to around the 80s lately, so that means I'm starting the seasons
Yeah.
at the 50s, which is way easier.
I keep
Yeah.
getting to like
Same here.
77, 78, and then I go in this. The game does not like me and I go in this massive losing streak. It's like it's the perfect deck to go against me no matter what I do. So, and what's funny is that I'll change decks, and then that'll be the perfect deck against me. Like, damn it, it drops me down to 68. Then I can build
Yeah.
back up to. I'm hovering back around 73 right now. And
Yeah,
it's
I'm at
just it's
71 right now.
it.
But I only need one more cube to level, so I don't know, I'll probably grab a level or two tonight.
Now,
Yeah.
have you guys played against each other? Because my one friend and I, we do that. We'll call each other. You can like create a private game with a code, text it to each other, and we could play against each other just for the funsies. So if you're ever bored one day, you want to do it, we can totally do that during the day.
We should set up we should set up a live stream like on the Discord and do
Yeah,
that.
Ooh. I bet that's how some people rapid advance through levels.
Well, I don't think it doesn't count. The victories don't
Mm.
count towards
Oh,
your
they don't
cube
count
count.
towards
Yeah.
your
No,
ladder?
no, no, no. This is a
Okay.
private for funsies. You can have a funsies
Oh,
match with
okay.
your friends.
Cool.
So
Yeah. There's also that devastation or whatever mode or annihilation.
yeah,
But I almost never play that because I don't really care.
the
Conquest mode.
Conquest. Thank you.
the
Yeah,
prizes
no.
aren't worth it.
Yeah.
Well, and
It's
it doesn't work for my ADHD because
mm.
conquest mode is all about play the same deck through like 3 or 4 or 5 matches, and I'm just like, I don't want to play against the same deck 3 or 4 or 5
Yeah,
times.
and I've had it where I've my deck has come up with against a deck that just I cannot beat, and it's like I'm not going to stick around and just get like smacked for 5 games here.
Yeah, I'll
Do I
just
need to go up
scoot.
against the Galactus deck 4 times in a row? No, I'm gonna walk. You win this round, buddy. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I did get Galactus finally. I saved up enough of those tokens and I got my Galactus. Haven't used them yet, but I have them.
same.
Yeah,
I have him. I haven't used him, but man, Alioth is a badass.
Alioth is
Speaking
pretty
of
good.
those tokens, like I I'm very when they change. Okay, so for the fans, when you're leveling up your cards, they don't get more powerful. They just get new cool borders.
Yeah,
It's all cosmetic. And as you level them up, there's a separate meter where you're like I'm trying the best way to describe it. It's not your official ranking. It's just like kind of like your number stat. I'm somewhere around like in the 6,000s or
yeah,
almost just short of 7,000.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I just
yeah.
looked it up while we were on this. I'm at 6232, so I'm a
okay,
little behind you.
so you go up a certain amount, and every so often there's little increments as you go up. You get like little boosters or a little like a little mystery box, and the mystery box used to have a lot more tokens in them. You would get like 200 tokens or 100
Yeah.
tokens or 50 tokens. Now the tokens are so sparingly because like again they have a
Yeah,
storefront, and to buy cards with in-game currency, you either spend real money or you have to use the in-game currency, which used to come at a much better rate. Now it's a much less, and
I,
it takes far, far longer to get the cards you want using their in-game currency.
yeah, it does.
honestly, I'm always getting tokens. Like I'm always trying to spend them. Like they like dump them on me. It seems.
I'm with
Well, go
Gibby.
fuck yourself,
I
Rick.
get
Because I'm on a token deficit over here.
Yeah, I think like right now I've got, what have I got? 3,000 or so,
Jesus.
3,200 token. No, I got 4,100 tokens.
Okay.
Um, and I'm trying to decide whether I want to buy the new card they just released because it's
Well, wait. Do you
3,000
have
tokens.
do you have tokens, gold, or the collector things?
These are the collector tokens.
Okay.
The credits are the things you get every day, all the time. Where you
That's
get
what you level up your characters with. Yeah,
and then gold, you
it has a variety of uses.
yeah.
Yeah.
You usually I buy variant arts with gold.
Well, what I do is like every Tuesday, it's Token Tuesday, so you can buy a token pack for your gold in this shop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that if I have enough gold, like 1,000 tokens and some boosters, that's what I usually save my gold up for that. I like some of the variants. I hate my one friend loves it. I hate when I get the pixel variants. I hate it.
Oh my god, they're so ugly.
It's I grew up in the 8-bit era. I don't want it anymore. I don't find it kitschy.
Right?
I don't want the I don't want to. It's like kind of like we're all con going people. There's always going to be that booth that's selling like the digital art print of Pikachu, and I don't want that either. But like some people love that digital style. I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of I hate the 8-bits. I don't play
Yeah.
any of them in any of my decks.
Nah.
I like the Dan Hip variants, which are very cutesy, kind of chibi look.
Yeah.
That's the store this week is all Dan Hip variants.
Except I don't like the Hulk variant. For some reason that just
Oh, the one
annoys
is like
me.
this with this cartoon looking. It looks like
Yeah.
the coloring book looking one.
Yeah.
I've got them. I don't like them. Yeah. I want the all Liefeld one. I want them more like a tiny feet or no feet and a lot of pockets. I want like more like the 90s style, like big shoulder pad era of cards.
Pretty. I just went in the shop right now and used up my gold, and I bought 2 variants, and I got a really pretty death variant.
Yeah, I don't usually do the variants with the gold. I'll save up like maybe like 3,000 gold and do one of those like once a month packs where it's like
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
you get a cool variant, but you get like a whole bunch of boosters and a ton of the daily credits and stuff. So I'll usually use that, and then like the collector's tokens, I'll save up. I have like 5,000 right now, and I'm just usually the newer cards are like 6,000. So when a good one comes out, like because the one they have out there right now, it's like Ravonna something, and she doesn't strike me as a.
Dude, did you read that card
Hello,
description?
Gandalf.
It took me like so many tries to read that. It makes
I
sense.
have no idea what it means.
If you've got like a card that's like Wolfbane
Okay.
is 3/1. With Ravonna, she's a 2/1.
Right, but the way the wording of the card is, it's like
it's
any card like with one or less becomes one less minimum of one.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, so
Iron
it does
Man's
nothing.
a 4.
Yeah, I know, I understand what it does, but the way the kind of like rules is written on the card, it looks like it says only one cost cards become less minimum of one. Like I know that's not what it's trying to say, but that's kind of how it reads, and it baffled the shit out of me the first few times I read it.
Thanks for explaining because I read it and I was just like, this makes no sense.
Yeah,
it just reduces the cost of your cards.
Yeah,
by 1 as long as the card is small enough, has low enough power to start with.
Yeah,
right.
I think the last 6,000 card or point like collector card that I bought was probably High Evolutionary because
that changed my entire deck.
That was a huge card that came out. So High Evolutionary.
I still don't have that. I don't think.
What High Evolutionary does is it takes a bunch of other cards that normally don't have powers, and it gives them powers, and they're generally a whole bunch of FU powers. Like a lot of them,
yeah, they are.
A lot of them either buff your deck or debuff the other deck. And I love playing
dude. I don't even use the thing, but when he plays against me, he like literally shits on you. He shits bricks on you and reduces the powers of your cards. And like the animation is like, I gotta applaud it. I hate it every time, but I applaud it because he's just shitting bricks on you and reducing the power of my cards.
Yeah, no, he's awful. Mm-hmm. I have some decks where I run a Luke Cage, which Luke Cage
just for that reason.
Your cards can't have their power reduced.
Let me tell you,
Cage just for that.
I always keep an Enchantress in my deck because I know I'm going to run into you Luke Cage motherfuckers, and I love playing that. Like Okay, so the best way to play Luke Cage is to play Luke Cage and then throw a Cosmo on it so people can't debuff Luke Cage. But a lot of
Mhm.
people don't get to that. So they'll play Luke Cage, do a bunch of other things. Suddenly Enchantress comes down and their entire like thing, because a lot of people will play Luke Cage and then
Hazmat.
do say, yeah, and then spam Hazmat at you, which is just will, especially if you have it with Wong,
Wong.
which,
Yep.
yeah, that will just destroy you. But if you get rid of um, Luke Cage's powers, that just completely screws
The,
everybody.
the the setup that I'm when I'll be playing the game, whether I'm just on the toilet or I'm just playing, like sitting at my office,
Mhm.
I boot up, and then like as soon as I see Invisible Woman drop, I just roll my eyes because I know it's just going to be a Hella deck. I
Yeah.
know it's just going. They're going to hide Hella at the very because it means they got Hella in their opening hand, so they're going to discard everything, drop Hella, but you don't see it coming. Oh no! Yeah. And then boom, she
Yeah.
brings back all the cards that got discarded that game, and they discard a lot. So people they
Yeah.
overstack with Giganto and like all these other like the Hella carriers and all these other things, so that like Hella comes back and brings back all those cards, poof, 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 poof,
Yeah.
and you know it's coming as soon as you see the Invisible Woman
Because
drop.
there's literally no other purpose for using Invisible Woman. I mean,
None whatsoever.
great character in the comics, terrible card.
Yes.
I used to run her in Patriot. I really
That's-
liked her in my Patriot deck because you play Invisible Woman on 2, Patriot in the same lane on 3, Mystique on that same lane. So then Mystique will reveal copy Patriot, and then all of your shitty little cards with no abilities get buffed. So that's how I was playing a lot of Invisible Woman.
See, the main deck I play is what I call a spoiler deck. I'm mostly playing
I
High
hate you so much
Evolutionary,
already.
but I purposely keep cards like Armor, Enchantress, um,
Sandman.
Sandman, yes, because
Fuck
these are
you.
cards that don't buff me, but they screw up other people's so the destruction decks. One of the things they love to do is in the final round, they'll play Death and they'll play Null, and that combination will just destroy you.
Yep.
But by playing Sandman, they can only play one card, and that makes it so you can defend against that. And if you play an Alioth, you can just annihilate that entire strategy. Yeah, so I am not
I
a fan of Sandman, but I keep him in my deck.
I hate that less than fucking Professor X. I fucking hate playing against Professor X. Professor X is just like, oh no, cock block everything. You
Yeah.
can't put any more cards here. You can't destroy any cards here. You can't move cards here. And the cards that you played here before Professor X got revealed, oh yeah, they don't
Yeah,
do anything now.
yeah,
I
and
fucking hate playing
and
against Professor X.
people like whenever I see Daredevil coming up, I know that a Professor X is probably going to be played because that's primarily what
Yeah,
people use Daredevil for, to set up like where they can put a Professor X.
yeah,
Yep.
um,
Have you
yeah.
fucked around with Shadow King? If
Not
I have
yet.
them in my deck, but I don't really use them.
Well, for Rick's deck specifically, that ability like resets all their power back to their base cost. Like all the buffing, all the things. Like you ever want to see a null like just come out with this big throbbing dick and just chop it right off? Because like now you're back to
Mhm.
zero, buddy. That's 6 power and you have nothing. Because Shadow King
Shadow
says
King
so.
is really good against move decks too, because
Yeah,
Yes, he
Dagger,
is.
yeah,
Human Torch, and Vulture all get buffed so much and Craven. They all get
Yep.
buffed by either moving or having things move to where they are, and Shadow King just
yeah.
shits all over that.
Valkyrie's another card that does that.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've lost more than one game where I've had like 3 good cards and somebody will play as their 4th card Valkyrie, and there's no defense against that. It basically makes every card in a lane 3 power. So if somebody else has more cards than you, they just automatically win that.
what I've seen done to really good effect is Valkyrie with
Silver
Cerebro
Sur or Silver
or Silver
Surfer.
Surfer or both,
Mm,
Yep.
because Cerebro buffs
yes.
your biggest creature. Well, if your biggest creatures are all 3s,
Yep.
Cerebro's popping
And
everything.
see, that's
And
why
then if
High
your stuff
Evolutionary is great.
costs 3, then Silver Surfer buffs everything.
Mhm.
See, that's why the high evolutionary deck is great against Cerebro, because it messes up that thing. So now all their cards are not 3.
But yeah, now that it's also on Steam, I am enjoying that as well because like it used to be because like sometimes I'll put my phone just out of reach when I'm working. I'm in the morning or I'm working in the afternoon. I'm writing. I put my phone out of reach. I let music play, and so I can't be distracting. But
Yep.
I'm on my laptop, and I'm like, but my laptop can get to Snap now too.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Like, who do you play as, just in case any of our Discord or anybody wants to hop on, and they're like, hey, I'm getting my ass kicked by Gibby, you know?
It's literally just Gib. That's my name, Gib. If you see me coming in, and my characters are. I'll pull up my deck real fast. 1 second on my phone. Let me see here. Also, once you set it to like the higher frame rate on your phone, like all the animations look great, and my phone starts getting hot. Every game takes a percent or two of power that I'm playing, and I don't care. It's great. Uh, but my go-to deck is a high evolutionary deck.
Mhm.
It's what I call my inflate deck, and I like it because I don't need to spend energy every turn to make something happen. Because every time you don't spend energy for the Hulk, he goes up +2/+2 every
Yep.
single time. So my deck consists of 1 second here. Okay, I'm getting old. Where are my glasses? There they are. All right. Sunspot. So he always goes up in power as long as you got leftover energy. Kitty Pride, who gets more powerful every round.
Oh,
I like to
I
like.
hate that
I
card.
Me too. Misty Knight, thanks to High Evolutionary, as long as you have leftover power, she gives 1 extra power to some other card in your hand. Angela, 2/0, but every time you play a card against her, like Kitty Pride, you can put over, she gets +2 every time someone plays in that lane. Cable, just as a fuck you. I'm just going to take 1 card away from you just to see what happens. Armor to stop some of the destroy decks. Magic to try to push it to 7 rounds. Cyclops is a great one because leftover energy, he does
Yep.
-2 power off of people on the other side. Super Scroll for all those annoying null decks, or Super Scroll is also great when someone that plays a Devil Dinosaur or Dark Hawk or Ronin. And I played
Mhm.
against a guy who did all 3, and so the Super Scroll got all those abilities. High Evolutionary, obviously, Taskmaster and Hulk. That's my go-to deck right now.
All right. So if you're ever on there, I am a 30-year-old Simpsons joke. I am Mr. Plow. And my favorite deck right now, I have a whole bunch of them. But the deck I have right now is also a high evolutionary deck. Misty Knight,
Yep.
very very useful card. Mirage, I love the fact that she steals a low power card, but potentially turns it into a higher power card.
Yep.
Armor, because F you if you're playing a destruction deck.
Truth.
I like Shocker because he's a low card with 3. He's a 2 cost card with 3 power, but he'll take another card in your deck and make it 1 less cost. And if you have like an Eliath or like an Abomination or so, that can make a big difference. Cyclops, same with you. I always keep a Shang-Chi in my deck because, again, as I said, it's a spoiler deck. I want to take away from you as opposed to buff me up, because that makes me happy. High evolutionary, obviously. Enchantress removes ongoing effects. Powerful card.
Mm-hmm.
John mentioned he hated the Thing. I have the Thing in my deck.
Mm-hmm.
Sandman. And let me tell you, there is like, for a while there, I was getting crushed by Falcon and Beast decks with Bast and like low level cards, because they would just like continually spam each round just like with tons of cards. And let me tell you, nothing destroys that build faster than Sandman. I guarantee if you're playing against somebody and you play a Sandman, you will get them retreating because there's
Yep.
nothing they can do. Abomination. One thing I like about Abomination is cards like the Thing and Cyclops. The more power they take away, the less cost that Abomination has. So at the end, Abomination can be like a 1 or sometimes a 0 cost card, which and with
With her
9
9
power, he's
power.
pretty
Yep.
powerful. And then I took Hulk. I used to do Hulk, but I took him out of my deck and I put in Eliath instead,
Yeah.
because Hulk is great. He's very powerful, but I was getting screwed by a lot of those Hela decks, and Hulk does nothing against that. Whereas Eliath, if you play that, you can stop a Hela deck, at least if you play it the right way.
Yeah, I'm going to tinker around with like my Eliath because I wouldn't mind making my own Goliath slash Galactus kind of thing. But I like your stance on there. Like, but man, that Sandman is like I said, I've made this joke to you before, but
Yeah.
it's like that old lady on the homeowners association who's like, no one will have fun on my watch. I'm going to
No.
make sure we are all miserable.
Oh yeah, I've had like like some of those ones where like okay, you get like +5 power. I've played Sandman like the first like card of the game, and you can
Oh,
immediately
yeah.
see people just be like, screw it, I don't want to play this. Because yes, you're right. Half the fun is like putting down multiple cards, and Sandman just takes that away from you, and like it's more like Sand Karen than.
Yeah, it kind of is.
But all right. So any closing thoughts on this before we wrap up?
No, but I do think we should like definitely set for those after this episode comes out. We'll find out who plays. Try to get a thing where we all play like maybe like one of those Jackbox games, where like we can get a Marvel Snap like day where we can get some of the other fans who are in the Discord. Like we'll get online, we'll get all each other's codes and like stream some games together. I think this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. This sounds like it could be a virtual thing, although whoever is displaying their deck is going to be at a wee bit of a disadvantage. So we'll have
It
to figure out how
is,
to
but the
do
other
that.
person should be looking at their phone or their device less and not looking at the screen. But like, that's we're all friends here because it's like I was literally just about to send you an invite code, but then once you said Sandman again, like I closed the game. Like, never mind. I'm not fuck Rick. I'm not playing against that. You win by default. I'm not playing against Sandman.
Oh man, I'm going to turn on the game tonight, and I'm going to be like, oh, there's Gib, and suddenly it's like retreat gone. Oh, what? What is it? Me? Do I spell?
Well, the thing is, like, I've played against a Mr. Plow. I'm like, hey, was that you? So
Probably. I mean, literally, I have been Mr. Plow since this game came out. I have not changed that. Once I pick a name, I don't go back and change it. Like I'll change my avatar, I'll change my title, my little subtitle, but I don't change my name.
Yep,
I'm
same.
lazy that
I've
way.
always been Gib in all my games just because it's the easiest thing to remember. Just GIB, and if you see that, that's me. So,
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this side quest. I hope we kept you entertained. If you're a Marvel Snap player, let us know. And in the meantime, we'll be back next week with another quest for competence. And until then, bye.
bye. You have a good night.
Authors and Dragons is brought to you under a Creative Commons license, meaning you are free to share this material so long as credit is given to those who created it, which is us, the people you just heard play the game. Opening and closing themes performed by the Gore Core 4.
Authors and dragons.